Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, so today we are planned to discuss a sample question paper. So I hope that all of you are almost cover the revision portion from the physics. Anyway, we can just revise a sample question paper today. So from physics, you can expect 35 marks and 90 minutes are there for the exam. And it consists of mainly 3 sections. Section A consists of 25 multiple choice questions. You can attempt any 20 questions from section A. So here you have the first question. Which of the following is not the property of equipotential surface? Which of the following is not the property of equipotential surface? They do not cross each other. The rate of change of potential with a distance on them is 0. For a uniform electric field, they are concentric spheres. They can be imaginary spheres. Which is the correct alternative. Not the property of equipotential surface. Any guess? Yes, Anna?
Option A.
They do not cross each other. My question is, which of the following is not the property of equipotential surface? Not the property.
Option 3.
Option C. Okay, anyway, option C is the right answer. But why? Explain the reason. For a uniform electric field, they are concentric spheres, which is not a property of equipotential surface. Why? Option C is right. Any explanation? Dia, any idea? What do you mean by equipotential surface?
Inside potential is same.
Yes, the surface over which the potential is same everywhere is known as equipotential surface. Okay, so here option C, for a uniform electric field, they are concentric spheres. So we know that in the case of an equipotential surface, the electric field and the field lines are right angles to that of the equipotential surface. They are not in a concentric spheres. Okay, over a equipotential surface, electric field and the field lines are not concentric spheres. They are right angles with that of the equipotential surface. If it is a point charge, we can say they are formed, the equipotential surface is forms a concentric spheres. But in the case of a uniform electric field, the equipotential surface is not concentric spheres. They are right angles to that of the electric field lines. Okay, so option C is the right answer. Now question number 2. 2 point charges plus 8q and minus 2q are located at x equal to 0 and at x equal to L respectively. The point on x-axis at which the net electric field is 0 due to these charges is 8L, 4L, 2L, L. We have 2 point charges are there, plus 8q and minus 2q. 8q is at x is equal to 0 and minus 2q is at x is equal to L. So we can say the distance between these two charges are equal to L. The point on x-axis at which the net electric field is 0. So due to these 2 point charges, at a particular point on the same x-axis, the net electric field is equal to 0. So the point on x-axis at which the net electric field is 0 due to these charges. We need to consider the charge at this point, the distance between these two charges. We have 2-point charges plus 8q at x is equal to 0 minus 2q at x is equal to L. The point on x-axis at which net electric field is 0 due to these charges is 8L, 4L, 2L, L. How we can find out it? Two-point charges are there, plus 8q and minus 2q, which is located at two different positions. Then what about the electric field due to these charges at a third point? Use the superposition principle for the electric field. What is the superposition principle states that, so according to our superposition principle, the net electric field at any particular point will be equal to sum of the electric field due to the individual charges. So here we have two individual charges are there. One is 8q and other is minus 2q. Then what about the electric field at this particular point? It is given by the equation. According to superposition principle, we know that E is equal to E1 plus E2. The net electric field at any particular point will be equal to sum of the electric field due to the individual charges. Then by according to Coulomb's law, we can write the equation for E1 and E2. It becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by the distance of separation between these point and here. Here it is L, that is from plus 8q to minus 8q, it is L. And from plus 8q to this unknown charge, we can take it is x. So the total distance is L plus x the whole square. Plus, here the next point charge is minus. So it becomes minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q divided by the distance of separation between them is x square. That is these two charges. It is x square and that is equal to 0 because it is already given. The point on the x-axis at which the net electric field is 0 due to these charges. So due to these charges plus 8q and minus 2q, the net electric field at this particular point will be equal to 0. So we can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by L plus x the whole square plus minus 1 by epsilon 0 minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q by x square is equal to 0. Okay, I will write here. We have two charges plus 8q minus 2q. We consider another point on the same x-axis due to these two charges. Due to these 2 point charges, the net electric field at this point is equal to 0. According to superposition principle, we have E is equal to E1 plus E2. That is equal to, by Coulomb's law, 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by the distance of separation between these two charges is given, it is L. And we don't know the distance between these 2 points, so we taken it as x. So the distance between plus 8q and that of this unknown point is taken as L plus x the whole square plus here we have minus, so it becomes minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q divided by the distance of separation between these 2 points are given by x square. That is equal to 0. Or we can write 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by L plus x the whole square is equal to, here we have a negative sign. So when we take it in the next side on the RHS, it becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q divided by x square. 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by L plus x the whole square minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q divided by x square is equal to 0. So we take the negative sign, that term onto the RHS, it becomes 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 8q divided by L plus x the whole square is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 2q by x square. Now we can cancel the common terms. So it becomes 8 by L plus x square is equal to 2 by x square. Or 1 by L plus x square is equal to 1 by L plus x square is equal to 1 by 4x square. Or we can write 4x square is equal to L plus x square. L plus x the whole square. L plus x the whole square. Take the square root on both sides. It becomes 2x is equal to L plus x. 2x is equal to L plus x, which implies L is equal to 2x minus x. That is equal to x. That is L is equal to x. If L is equal to x, what is the distance of separation between these two charges? Is it is L, 2L, 8L? What is the correct answer? It is 2L. 2L is the correct option. Okay. So here we are applying the superposition principle. E is equal to E1 plus E2. The distance between these two charges is given L, and due to the presence of these 2 point charges, it creates another electric field here, and this distance is taken as x. Using the superposition principle and by applying the Coulomb's law, we can find this distance x is also equal to L. So L plus L is equal to 2L. So the correct answer is option C, 2L. Now the third one. An electric dipole of moment P is placed parallel to the uniform electric field. The amount of work done in rotating the dipole by 90 degrees is 2 PE, PE, PE by 2, 0. An electric dipole of moment. Dipole moment is given. Electric dipole moment of P is placed parallel to the uniform electric field. The amount of work done in rotating the dipole by 90 degrees is 2 PE, PE, PE by 2, 0. What is the work done equation for calculating the work done in rotating the dipole in a uniform electric field?
minus P cos theta.
Minus P is there in the case of electric field. Magnetic field, we have W is equal to minus MB cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2, right? For the electric field equation, we have minus is there. Just check. Are you sure, Gauri?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is written minus.
Okay, no problem then. Then the equation is, what is the work done in rotating the electric dipole in a uniform electric field? W is equal to it's the same
Minus P cos theta.
minus PE cos theta. Only cos theta. We have stable and unstable position are the equation. In the case of a magnetic field, we have W is equal to MB cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Similarly, here we are rotating the electric dipole in a uniform electric field. So we know that only the difference is here, instead of the term M, magnetic moment, here we have electric dipole moment. It is represented by P. Instead of magnetic field, here we have electric field E. So W is equal to minus PE cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Here we are rotating the dipole in a uniform electric field. Rotating the electric dipole in a uniform electric field. So whenever it is rotating, we know that it is rotating from a stable to unstable position, not in a stationary position. It is rotating from a stable position to unstable position. And what about the stable position? Theta 1 is equal to 0. And here unstable position, we are considering rotating the dipole by 90 degree. That is the final one, theta 2 is equal to 90 degree. So the equation becomes W is equal to minus PE into cos 0 minus cos 90. It is rotating between these two angles, 0 and 90. We cannot directly take it is cos 90 because here the dipole is rotating inside the uniform electric field. It must be rotating between a stable position to unstable position. Stable position is theta 1 is equal to 0, and the given dipole, it is rotating through an angle theta 2 is equal to 90 degree. So what will be the work done in rotating the electric dipole in a uniform electric field? What is cos 0? 1. Cos 90? 0. So what about the final answer? W is equal to minus P. But here the minus sign is not given in the options. It is only PE. Work done in rotating the electric dipole. Actually, the electric dipole is rotating through an angle 90 degree. It is rotating from a stable position to unstable position. That is why we are using this equation. Work done by an electric dipole in a uniform electric field is given by W is equal to minus PE cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. For a stable position, the theta 1, it is rotating from an angle 0 degree. That is why we taken cos 0, and through an angle 90 degrees. So cos theta 2 is equal to cos 90. So W is equal to minus P 1 minus 0, that is equal to minus P. But here they are not taken the direction. So the answer is option B, PE. Now the fourth one. 3 capacitors, 2 microfarad, 3 microfarad, and 6 microfarad are joined in series with each other. The equivalent capacitance is. What is the equation for calculating the equivalent capacitance in a series combination? Srihari, equation for calculating the equivalent capacitance or effective capacitance in a series combination.
Add all the
We are simply add them
1 by the number.
1 by C series, 1 by series. If it is connected in series, 1 by C is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. So here we have three capacitors with the capacitance 2 microfarad, 3 microfarad and 6 microfarad. So it will become 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3 plus 1 by 6. Denominators are different, so take their LCM and find the answer. I think their LCM is 6. That is 1 by C is equal to 6 by 6, which implies C is equal to effective capacitance C is equal to
1 microfarad.
1 microfarad. So the correct answer is option B, 1 microfarad. Now question number 5. Two-point charges placed in a medium of dielectric constant 5 are at a distance r between them, experience an electrostatic force F. The electrostatic force between them in vacuum at the same distance r will be 5F, F, F by 2, F by 5. We have 2-point charges are there. We can consider it as Q1 and Q2. With a dielectric constant 5 are at a distance r between them. It experiences an electrostatic force of F. The electrostatic force between them in vacuum at the same distance r will be. Any guess? Which is the correct option? 5F, F, F by 2 or F by 5? We have two charges, Q1 and Q2, separated by a distance of r, but between them, a dielectric medium is placed with a dielectric constant K is equal to 5. Then what is the equation for the force experienced by these two charges? Dielectric
1 by-
constant, F is equal to
1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 epsilon r Q1 Q2 divided by r square.
Q1 Q2 divided by r square. Okay. 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 epsilon r Q1 Q2 divided by r square. So instead of this epsilon r, we can use the dielectric constant K. What is epsilon r? Epsilon r. What is epsilon r? No idea.
Permittivity.
Permittivity of what?
Medium.
Permittivity of the medium. Okay. So epsilon r is nothing. It is the permittivity of the medium. And this permittivity of medium is indicated by the dielectric constant K. That is, epsilon r is same as that of the permittivity of the medium. So instead of epsilon r, you can use the symbol K. I don't know whether we are mentioned this statement in the class or not. Whether we are using the same term K in class, in lecture notes. Instead of permittivity of the medium epsilon r, whether we are mentioned the term K.
No, not
Okay.
in the shunt.
It is not used, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Instead of this permittivity of the medium epsilon r, we can use dielectric constant K. Dielectric constant K. Both are same. K is nothing, dielectric constant is nothing. It is the permittivity of the medium. So the equation can be written as F is equal to the force experienced by the two charges whenever they are kept in a medium. The equation can be written as 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 K into K is same as that of the relative permittivity of the medium, that is epsilon r. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 K into Q1 Q2 divided by r square. So this is the equation for the force between two charges when they are separated by a distance of r when it is kept in a medium. Okay. Then what about the equation for the force experienced by the two charges whenever it is kept in a vacuum or air?
One by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 divided by r square.
Q1 Q2 divided by r square. Okay. So we know that if there is no medium is present, then the force experienced by the two charges when it is kept in a vacuum or air is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 divided by r square. But whenever the charges are placed in a medium, the equation is given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 K into Q1 Q2 by r square. Or instead of K, you can take this epsilon r. In our class, we are using epsilon r is the permittivity. Okay. And this permittivity is nothing. It is the dielectric constant of that medium. Its value is given. It is 5. Okay. So in this equation, 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by r square is representing what? It is representing the force experienced by the particle or the charges, not particle, force experienced by the two charges when it is kept in vacuum. From this equation, it is clear that 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by r square is nothing. It is the force experienced by the two charges when it is kept in vacuum. So this equation becomes F medium is equal to 1 by epsilon r into 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 Q2 by r square is nothing. It is the force experienced by the two charges when it is placed in vacuum. So F medium is equal to 1 by epsilon r of F vacuum, which implies what about the force experienced or the value of epsilon r is given. That is F medium is equal to 1 by 5 into F vacuum. F medium is equal to 1 by 5 into F vacuum because the dielectric constant is given as 5. So this epsilon r, the permittivity of the medium is given, it is 5. So F medium is equal to 1 by 5 into F vacuum. That is the force experienced by the two charges in vacuum, which implies the force experienced in the vacuum is given by F vacuum is equal to 5 into F medium. So what is the correct alternative here? Is it is 5F, F F by 2, F by 5.
5.
It is the 5F. Is it clear or not? Unmute and say no
Yes,
problem.
ma'am.
I will explain it once again. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So sixth one. Which statement is true for Gauss law? All the charges, whether inside or outside the Gaussian surface, contribute to the electric flux. Electric flux depends upon the geometry of the Gaussian surface. Gauss theorem can be applied to non-uniform electric field. The electric field over the Gaussian surface remains continuous and uniform at every point. Which statement is true? True for Gauss law. Which statement is true for Gauss law? Read all the alternatives one by one. All the charges, whether inside or outside the Gaussian surface, contribute to electric flux. Is it true? All the charges, whether inside or outside the Gaussian surface, contribute to the electric flux. Are you there? No response? Go through each alternative. Second alternative, electric flux depends upon the geometry of the Gaussian surface. Is it true? It depends upon the geometry of the Gaussian surface, electric flux?
No.
No, actually, so it is false. So we can eliminate that alternative. Then Gauss theorem can be applied to non-uniform electric field. Is it true? Gauss theorem can be applied to non-uniform electric field. State the Gauss's law. State Gauss law.
The net electric flux diverging from the Gauss surface.
In a- Okay, in a-
surface.
So Gauss theorem can be applied to non-uniform electric field. Is it true or false?
False.
Actually, it is false. Gauss theorem can be applied only to uniform electric field. So this statement is also false. So we can eliminate that two alternatives. So here we have only two alternatives, 1 and 4. All the charges, whether inside or outside the Gaussian surface, contribute to the electric flux. The fourth alternative, the electric field over the Gaussian surface remains continuous and uniform at every point. Does the charges outside the Gaussian surface contribute to electric flux? Read the first one. All the charges, whether it is inside or outside the Gaussian surface, contribute to electric flux. What do you think? Does the charges outside the Gaussian surface contribute to electric flux?
No.
No, it is not contribute. Actually, the charges outside the Gaussian surface is not contributing to that of the electric flux. So it is a false statement. So we can say that the fourth alternative is the correct answer. The electric field over the Gaussian surface remains continuous and uniform at every point. The electric field over the Gaussian surface remains continuous and uniform at every point. Because in the first alternative, all the charges, whether it is inside or outside, actually the charges outside the Gaussian surface is not contributing nothing to that of the electric flux. So it is a false statement. So we can go with the fourth alternative. The electric field over the Gaussian surface remains continuous and uniform at every point. Now the seventh one. A capacitor plates are charged by a battery with a V volt. After charging, battery is disconnected and a dielectric slab with a dielectric constant K is inserted between its plates. The potential across the plate of a capacitor will become 0, V by 2, V by K, kV. Capacitor plates are charged by a battery with a V volt. After charging, battery is disconnected and a dielectric slab with a dielectric constant K is inserted between its plates. Then the potential across the plates of the capacitor will become. What about the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric field? How we can calculate the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric?
Epsilon 0 A by D.
Epsilon 0 A by D. Okay, so this is the equation for calculating the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric. Okay, now here we have considered the capacitor with a dielectric slab is placed between them. Then what is the equation for capacitance? We can take it as C dielectric, something like that, CD. Then what about the capacitance with the dielectric? How we can calculate the capacitance? Without a dielectric medium, we have the capacitance of a capacitor can be calculated by C is equal to epsilon 0 A by D. Right. Now we place a dielectric medium between the two plates of a parallel plate capacitor. Then how we can calculate the capacitance of a capacitor?
K into epsilon 0 A by D.
K into epsilon 0 A by D. Right? Okay. So the first one, the equation for the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric medium. The second equation is the capacitance of a capacitor with a dielectric medium. So with a dielectric medium, the capacitance is given by K into epsilon 0 A by D. And what is this epsilon 0 A by D represents?
C.
It is C. That is capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric medium. So we can write this equation as C dielectric is equal to K into C. C dielectric is equal to Kc. And we know that the charge stored in a capacitor is given by Q is equal to
CV.
CV. Okay. For if it is a dielectric capacitor, here we are consider the capacitor in which a dielectric medium is placed between them. So the charge stored in this capacitor with the dielectric medium is given by C dielectric and V dielectric. Or we can write the charge stored in a capacitor Q is equal to C dielectric is nothing, it is Kc. So Kc into V dielectric. Okay. Then from this equation we can write Q by Kc is equal to V dielectric. What is Q by C represents? Q by C. If the capacitor without a dielectric medium, we know that Q is equal to CV, which implies Q by C is nothing, it is V. The potential stored by the capacitor without a dielectric medium. So here this Q by C is nothing, it is V. V by K is equal to potential of the dielectric medium. So what is the correct option? 0, V by 2, V by K or KV. Potential across the plates of a capacitor will become whenever a dielectric slab with the dielectric constant K is inserted between them. Then the potential of the dielectric generated in the capacitor is given by V by K. So the correct option is option 3, V by K. So for that, here we are starting from the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric medium. Equation 2 represents the capacitance of a capacitor with a dielectric medium. Combining these two equations, we get the capacitance of a dielectric medium is given by dielectric constant times the capacitance of a capacitor without a dielectric medium. That is C dielectric is equal to Kc. Then we are using the equation for the charge stored in a capacitor. The charge stored in a capacitor, whether it is a capacitor with a dielectric medium or without a dielectric medium, it is represented by Q. So Q is equal to C dielectric medium into V dielectric medium. Or we can write Q is equal to C dielectric medium is nothing, it is Kc. Kc into V dielectric medium. Then we brought these two terms Kc to the LHS. So it becomes Q by Kc is equal to V dielectric medium, but we know that Q by C is nothing. It is the potential of the capacitor without a dielectric medium. That is V by K is equal to V dielectric medium. So here the correct option is option 3, V by K. Okay, now it's the time. I will send this question paper to a WhatsApp number. It's to the group.